Probably one of the most underrated games that I ever played in my short and painfully isolated childhood was Onimusha Warlords. This classic released in 2001 on the PlayStation 2, and at the time I hadn't played many games that lent so heavily on the hack and slash gameplay that this series does so well. This was also back in the day where light RPG mechanics were not so prevalent everywhere you turned, so they felt fresh and new, and what resulted was a game that I now have very fond memories of 18 years later. Fast forward to present day and Capcom released the remastered edition on modern day consoles, and I couldn't wait to get my hands on this game to relive those happy days. I found this game rather hard to give a score because of its unique nature and proclivity in my past, and as you'll see at the end I did give it a score, but with a slight alteration. So let's find out how bright this remaster shines 18 years later. Before we start, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already to the channel to get notifications on more gaming videos just like this one, and like and comment at the end. It lets me know if you enjoy this type of content for the future. So let's get to the review. And the first thing I notice will be the first thing that I talk about. I could not believe how great this game looks based on the fact that it's remastered from 2001. While I didn't notice the difference too much in places like the environments, the character models and especially the cutscenes look amazing. The whole package looks much more crisp and detailed, especially when you look at comparisons. Capcom really have done their best to make sure the visuals look as good as they can in today's climate. And while there is bound to be limitations with a game that is this old, there are many remasters that don't even try, so I applaud the rather significant upgrade they have managed to pull off here. I did however run into some slight muddy textures here and there, and they were the aforementioned backgrounds that I noted earlier, but it never really bothered me too much since the importance is on the actual combat in a game such as this. None of the textures or graphical errors impede your ability to react swiftly when in the heat of combat, which is undoubtedly the most important thing in Onimusha Warlords. The developers at Capcom seem to have shared this opinion, as another thing that has been reworked in this remaster is the combat itself. It seems much more flexible and flows smoother than I remember, which is a great thing in itself because I was very worried that the fixed cameras in this game would cause me some hassle. It certainly did 18 years ago. Becoming surrounded by 5 to 6 demons at any one time is incredibly frustrating when you're on the threshold of 2 separate wall cameras, so the game flickers between them because they can't decide which one you're closer to. In games that feature fixed cameras, you will never avoid these moments of epileptic ecstasy, and I did encounter 1 or 2 eye-melting moments when I was outnumbered and the enemies bashed me between cameras. But this was made slightly less soul-destroying because of the smoother controls. They are sharp and very responsive here, making combat deliberate and meticulous. You can't just run into a group of demons and slash away until they are dead. They will make mincemeat of you unless you analyse your surroundings and choose your timings carefully. The reason for this is the enemy variety. Demons can slash, charge, roll, and bash you around without warning or compromise, especially in larger numbers. You will have a combination of attacks, dodges and blocks to win the day, and the precise controls make this easily achievable. And because of that I never felt this game was very difficult. It's not like a Dark Souls style game. If you are choosy with your attacks and evaluate each situation individually, you will not have a problem with most situations in this game. Gameplay can be altered to your own specific style by using alternate weapons which bring some variety to the prevalent combat. These weapons can be upgraded as you continue your adventure by using the souls you collect from your fallen enemies. Just make sure you collect your souls after each victory, as this will not be done automatically for you. This is just another reminder that the game is not from our time. Having a simple button press to collect your rewards is something that makes the rewards feel more important and satisfying to redeem. If only there was more time to enjoy your bounty. Something I felt here that I missed when I was younger was how quickly I managed to finish the game. After 2 playthroughs I discovered I had clocked up a playtime of only 10 hours, and while this may be something to do with the fact that I knew this game very well 18 years ago, I was still disappointed by how long I got to spend slicing up demons in this Japanese action-adventure. This isn't helped by the simplistic storyline. This is your basic warrior fights the forces of evil storyline that we have seen plenty of times before. Perhaps at the time it was original, but I didn't feel engaged with the storyline hardly at all. But that may be due to the fact that it takes a back seat while the game relies heavily on its combat, which I've already said does very well. The Japanese dub lends aid to your willpower to play through a second time, which was my reason for doing so, and I do feel it was a great revisit to a childhood classic that will never die. But given its length, I doubt I will return to it anytime soon, and I hold out hope that this remaster sparks an inventiveness within Capcom to bring us an entirely new Onimusha adventure in the near future. I do feel that my younger self would tell me to go easier on this game, given how much I enjoyed it in the past, but I have to judge it by 2019 standards. It looks great and plays well, but its length and story let it down as it did in 2001, when I was less knowledgeable about such things playing such a huge part in video games. This is a game that shows its age every now and then, and could have been better as a full-blown remake, ditching the fixed cams and having third-person action instead. It ends up as a satisfying 7 out of 10, in brackets, for fans, because that's what I am. It may be less or more for any newcomers to the franchise, but I can't give it a review score for anyone else because I feel I can't judge it fairly as a newcomer. I believe any fan will find this experience fulfilling and enjoyable to revisit, and perhaps when it's slightly cheaper it will turn the heads of some newcomers to the franchise, but I can only recommend it to the demographic that will get the most out of it for now, which is people like me who loved it back in the day. Thank you for watching this video to the end, by the way. It was especially difficult for me to make, but also very important for me to make, and I enjoyed replaying this game immensely and making this review, but I also hated forcing myself to recognise the flaws that were so obvious to my older self, but that's how it goes sometimes. It's just one of those things. Thanks again, and I will see you on the next video.